Good morning, James Madison University. I'm your host, Olivia Coleman, and do April showers really bring May flowers? On that note, let's hear from Tommy about the news of the week. With us today is D. Lee Beer to discuss his documentary about the stained glass windows of the Shenandoah Valley. So, D. Lee, tell us about your film.
Well, it's a 1-hour documentary. It was aired on PBS, and it's basically a tour of the various and diverse stained glass windows throughout the Shenandoah Valley, and include major cities were Stanton, Harrisonburg, and Winchester.
And tell me about your inspiration. What made you really want to make this film?
Well, it all started off as a digitization project that the JMU Libraries was trying to do, where they were inviting people to bring in religious artifacts to be digitized. And I thought one of the most visually stunning religious artifacts is stained glass windows. But you can't exactly pop them out of the window, put them on a scanner and go beep and have a nice image of it. So I thought, I need to go out there with a camera and take pictures. So I started taking pictures of these high resolution images. I take multiple images and stitch them together into 1 gigapixel image for each window. And I started looking at them and I went, wow, a still image still doesn't quite capture. And I thought, there's a story in all of these windows. And I said, this would make a great film. And so that's when I decided I need to try to get permission and round up the people that I need to be able to produce a documentary film, giving people a tour of these windows, to see the windows from turn of the century to the Tiffany windows in the 1920s to more modern slab glass windows that are produced in the 70s and even now.
So how long have you been following stained glass in your life?
Oh, well, I started appreciating it as a kid in the church that I was in, and it was something that we always appreciated. My dad taught me to appreciate. I remember us saving up money to be able to protect the windows with a coating on the outside. And so I appreciated them then, and throughout life I got stained glass windows as a wedding gift. People knew that I loved them, and so it was something I've always appreciated.
And who are your inspirations for this film and just filmmaking in general? Because I know you've been doing this for a while now.
Oh wow, that's a tough one. The stained glass windows was just a chance to show off a little bit of what the Shenandoah Valley has, and it's pretty amazing. You don't have to go to Chartres Cathedral. I mean, not to knock Chartres Cathedral, it's pretty amazing, but there's some pretty amazing stuff right here in the valley. But a lot of people may go to, say, one church that they go to, but then they never see the windows in other churches, and I thought this might be a way for people to see and appreciate these windows as a piece of art history and local culture and history as well.
And backstage, you told me this project originally was more based on photo. Tell me about the transition from being still photography to moving picture.
Well, I was going around to different churches, and I focused on churches because it was sort of what they say is the low-hanging fruit, because there's multiple windows in one building that you can go to and film, photograph. And so I photographed hundreds of windows throughout various churches throughout the valley. Unfortunately, in the film, because I'm limited to 1 hour, I could only select some of the churches to go to, and even the churches I went to, I wasn't able to showcase all of the beautiful windows that were even in that single church. But in the film, I tried to give them a broad spectrum, showing them the range of windows that are out there. And I think I've done a pretty good job of that, from rolled glass windows to the Tiffany with the plated glass and his special types of glass like confetti glass, or the feathering for like angel's wings.
And 1 hour of production. Tell me about that process. How much did you have to cut? How much did you have to leave out? Stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I planned for it to be an hour. That was what I'd arranged beforehand for what would fit well with PBS broadcast. So I knew how long it had to be, but I filmed more than what I needed just to make sure. But my first step was just writing out the script to get an idea of what it is I wanted to say, and then get an idea of how long that would take. One of the variables was the interviews with people, because I didn't know how long those would take, how long their responses would be. But I did about 4 different interviews in the film and pieced that in. I had about an hour and a half of footage. I had to cut it down to like 56 minutes and 57 seconds or something like that, exactly what they needed for broadcast. So once you get the script down, you get an idea for the timing, then you got to try to recruit the people to help you out with the film. The film wasn't funded through any sort of grant, but it was supported by some JMU students that are in the SMAD department that helped me with the filming process. I also got some community members to help out with not only the filming, but also the music, the score that was put into the documentary.
And what was your favorite part of making this movie?
Oh, wow. I think the favorite part is just getting it out there for people to be able to see. And knowing that people across North America have been able to see these stained glass windows, it's wonderful that I was the one that was able to bring it to them, to share it with them, that we're sharing, mutually sharing something very beautiful. That just gives me a great sense of satisfaction. But I remember going into some of the places where we're going to film, and I remember thinking at one point, this is exactly where I want to be. There's nowhere else on this earth that I want to be than right here filming in this church. And it was just because it was so beautiful, and the idea that we're going to capture this on film that people can enjoy forever.
So was this a dream come true for you, for as a kid, appreciating stained glass and now honoring it in a certain way?
No, not really. I hadn't thought, I mean, I wanted to be an astronaut when I was a kid. This sort of just happened by accident. It was just one of those happy little accidents, but once I committed to it, I had to see this through and try to get this done, and I was very fortunate to get many people to volunteer to help me to make this a reality so that people could appreciate this.
And where's the farthest point in America that this movie has been on PBS?
That would be Alaska. Yeah, it hasn't been on all PBS stations in North America. The way the distribution channel works, different PBS stations can pick or not pick a show. PBS stations very much act independently. But it's been broadcast in San Francisco, Corpus Christi, Texas, all of Kentucky, Orlando, South Carolina. So New Mexico, Arizona, quite a few places. And so that makes me very happy to know that it's reached a wide range of people. And it's still going to be made available to PBS stations for about another year and a half for them to be able to pick it up if they want to air it. It's only been made available to other PBS stations starting January of 2015.
And how can people at home watch this movie if they don't have cable, possibly, obviously,
Sure.
or anything?
Or it's already aired locally on PBS, and so, you know, if you missed it and you didn't DVR it, you're kind of stuck. But fortunately, at pbs.org, you can do a search for the title of the film, which is Stained Glass Windows of the Shenandoah Valley, and you should be able to find the whole film available online.
And I know, talking backstage with you, this is a lot different than what you've done in the past. You want to tell me more about your previous video work?
Well, most of my work has been creating educational videos, and that's what I primarily do, and try to show people how to use technology or help others to produce videos for them to show what they want to show. And so this is the first time for me to take on a project of this size, to really just take a piece of art history and bring it to reality.
And I guess you are you work at JMU. So
I do work
tell
at
me
JMU.
about your JMU experience and how that could have helped you with this documentary.
Well, working at JMU, you know, I had connections with people. In fact, Kay Arthur, an art history professor at JMU, was actually in the film. She was being interviewed, talking about windows and the Gothic architecture within churches. And some other, another professor down at Mary Baldwin College was being interviewed on the Tiffany windows that are down in Trinity Episcopal down in Stanton. It's a beautiful church with a wide range of windows. I would have to say that you know, there's the medieval style of stained glass windows that you see out there, and there's more plain rolled glass, something that looks a little more modern, and then chunks of glass that are pieced together in sort of a concrete mix. But my favorite is really the most American of the windows, and that is Louis Comfort Tiffany's windows.
Great.
And they are just beautiful to look at. And he does interesting, he tries to paint with glass, and he does a really good job with it. And he does minimal painting in the glass and tries to focus on the layers of glass. It's not just one piece of glass, but they'll often layer glass on top of different pieces in order to get a sense of depth as the light shines through and refracts through the glass.
Well, thank you so much, D. Lee Beard. We'll be right back, and stay tuned for our musical guest, Go-Go Leche, after this break.